Before the arrival of the white man in the 1830s, the open Werribee Plain and the river that runs through it was a food bowl for the Indigenous people of the region. The Werribee district was the home of three Aboriginal language groups: the Woiwurrung, the Wadthurrung and the Bunwurrung. John Batman arrived in June 1835 and purchased land from local Aboriginals that stretched from the Yarra to Corio Bay, taking in all of the Werribee Plain. John held a wedge, subdivided the land into 17 allotments. Some of these became Wyndham. Relations between Aboriginal groups and the new settlers were cordial at first, but when sheep herders drove the native fauna away, Aborigines took the settlers' sheep and the Europeans took revenge. Massacres took place. People were killed on both sides. Aborigines were forced onto reserves for their own protection. Sheep and cattle shipped from Tasmania grew fat on the good grass on the Werribee Plain. Homesteads were built and fortunes made. Thomas and Andrew Chirnside arrived in the colony in 1839. They bought land in the Werribee district. Point Cook Homestead was developed from 1852, and 20 years later the brothers established Werribee Park Mansion, the largest estate in the district. The Chirnsides were great benefactors to the community, supporting the construction of churches, schools and libraries and the railway in 1861. The production of hay for animal fodder was vitally important to the growth of the colony. Trainloads were sent from the district to Melbourne every day. The Leake brothers exported hay to India for the British Army. The Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Works constructed the sewage farm in the 1880s. The State Research Farm operated nearby. Once flooded, then drained, the nutrient-rich soils produced excellent results. Beef cattle thrived. Sheep and poultry, even ostriches, were farmed before the fashion for large feathered hats declined. Pastures and cereals, crops for fodder were grown, tested and harvested. Dairy herds set world records for milk production. Even the Clydesdale stallion, Major Oates, was in constant demand. Not everything farmed in the district was produced for food. The Chirnsides had released deer, rabbits and even foxes onto the plains. They held hunting parties and coursing competitions and invited the well-to-do to ride with them in search of game. Andrew Chirnside was a keen breeder of racehorses, winning the 1874 Melbourne Cup with his horse, Harrico. The Werribee Racecourse, one of the oldest in Victoria, opened in 1874 and remains on Victoria's racing calendar today. Point Cook is the birthplace of the Royal Australian Air Force. The first flying corps was established there at the outbreak of World War I. The first flight across Australia, from south to north, took to the skies from Point Cook, and the RAAF training school was established in 1926. Carter Brothers Farms, the largest chicken farm in the Southern Hemisphere, grew like topsy from the 1920s, until it was producing more than 1 million birds a year alone. The Carters also supported the local community. They built workers' houses and saw the establishment of the local ambulance service. During the war, some land army girls working on Carter's farms were billeted to these houses. Carter's farms were demolished in the 1970s to make way for residential development. European migrants came to the district after the war, settling to farm vegetables on irrigation land south of the old highway. Today, descendants of the same families still farm the same land. They may no longer live in old railway carriages on the channel banks, but still make the pre-dawn delivery of vegetables to the Melbourne markets. Wyndham City was first named in 1850, although most locals at the time preferred the Indigenous name Werribee. The first innkeeper in the village, Elliot Armstrong, suggested the name of British General Sir Henry Wyndham to surveyor Robert Hoddle. In 1884 it was changed back to everybody's preferred name of Werribee. In the immediate post-war period, Werribee did not expand like the rest of Melbourne. Although in sight of the city, Werribee was once just a place to pass through, where the highway to Geelong took a turn over the railway line. Werribee suffered an image problem. The sewerage farm gave it a bad name. With advanced treatment technologies, Werribee no longer has this problem. In fact, few new residents would be aware that what is now called Melbourne Water is the former sewage treatment system. Once the Westgate Bridge and the Maltby Bypass were opened, Wyndham City began to develop. Today, former Board of Works State Research Farm is being transformed into desirable residential housing. Wyndham City is the fastest growing municipality in Victoria. New streets go up almost overnight. New suburbs stretch out over old farmlands. New stations are built. A new kind of settler is moving to Wyndham City to enjoy all that country living by the bay has to offer. An affordable, contemporary and well-planned community that caters for all their family needs.